Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. I've had several requests for clarification on how to put zippers in. In this video today, I'm going to show you how to use a regular dress zip and also the continuous zips that you cut to size. I'm going to focus on the insertion of the zip and how I do the top stitching, and the rest of the bag doesn't really matter at all. I'll give you the dimensions, but you can put the rest of the bag together any way you like. But today's focus is on the insertion of the zip, putting the tabs on, and also putting the slider onto the continuous zip. I'm going to show you in real time so that you can actually see exactly how I go about doing them. Now, before I forget, I received something in the mail today. I've been waiting for this for about a week. I have no idea what it is. All I know is it's a surprise. This is from Rosie in New South Wales. Rosie makes things out of old kilts. She does a lot of the Helping Hands card holders, bags, shoe bags, all sorts of things. Let's have a look and see what's in here. Let's read the note first. The suspense isn't killing me just yet. Hi there, Christine. We hope you get a giggle out of these. I thought of you when watching one of your many informative videos. In an email, I know I asked to see your reaction. Okay, so my reaction's coming soon, Rosie. This is about us having a bit of fun. Scott made these because he saw me using something inappropriate, as we do from time to time as sewers. Now I'm intrigued. Videos. Have you done any of the following? How to neatly do bias binding around corners and square items, or do you round them? How to choose the right width binding for the item. Get stuck on this one a lot, either too small or massively too big. In fact, binding is a pain for me. Get most of the way around and then run off or get a bubble or bunched look. After a few unpicks, lose interest fast. Don't we all? Do you have alternatives for oven mitts, etc., please, and not using bias binding? Or have I missed a video? You've missed one video. I did the double oven mitt and that doesn't have any bias binding at all, Rosie. So I'll pop a link up here and you can check that one out. You could probably apply the same technique for a regular pot holder or just a regular oven mitt. Oh no, have you seen the YouTube on quilting where you add triangles to corners, then have a straight bit of fabric down the sides to sew nearly to triangles, then turn over and sew like a bias binding, yet it's not bias binding, it's straight fabric? If not, would you do a video on this, please? I lost the reference to send you. Okay, I'm confused. I might have to do a bit of research on that. Your idea for a courier bag took on a new life in my head and I made a pizza bag. Hubby loves being able to get a pizza and use his bag that keeps it hot for the 20-minute drive home. I would have eaten it in that time. Okay, best let you get to the unpacking stage. You did well to assume that I would not go straight to the unpacking. Usually I do. Take care and enjoy these. And yes, it is crushing me not to be a smarty pants and give a clue. I have done really well to hold on to the suspense. Let's find out what I've got. Really long chopsticks. I've got 2 sticks with a point on the end. They kind of look like knitting needles, but they're about 6 mil or 8 mil in diameter. And on the end of it, it says Christine's Product. Can you see that? I have no idea what a product is. Where are the instructions, Rosie? Rosie, I'm sure these are perfectly useful, but now that I've unpacked it, you're going to have to explain to me what it's for. And as soon as I find out what it's for, I'll put the details down in the description below. That's so funny. All right, I'm going to prod something. Perhaps it's Chris when I need him to do jobs for me, though he doesn't really need prodding. Don't know what they are yet, but once I find out, I'll put a link in the description if I find out. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the video. I might also mention that this video is just about the technique for doing the zipper tabs and the finishing on the inside as well. So the rest of the bag will be completely up to you how you put it together, but this is just for doing the zipper tabs, continuous and regular zips, and the finishing on the inside. And so that I don't have to mess around with stabilizers, we're going to do these two projects without any stabilizer at all. So what I'm doing is using upholstery fabric. It's nice and sturdy. That way, when I do finish these bags, I wouldn't have need to use any stabilizer. Upholstery fabric, this is also some kind of furnishing fabric. We've got a continuous zip and we have a regular dress zip. This is probably number 3 and this one is a number 5. So I'll go very slowly through the techniques of both of them. So the technique that we're doing is with the zipper tabs on the end, and this is the technique that I like to use. So I've got 2 pieces of fabric. They're at least 3 inches long. They need to be as wide as your zipper tape. This one here is about 1.5 inches wide, and this one here is only about 1.25 inches wide. Size doesn't matter with what we're working on today, but I will put the dimensions down for what I am working on if you decide you want to make a bag in these sizes. The fabric I'm working on for this one is 11 inches by 5 inches, and all we're concerned with is the width of the fabric where the zip is going. So I've got 11 inches here, and the lining fabric is cut the same size. So we've got our 11 inches of fabric across here. The first thing you need to determine is what your seam allowance will be. Mine is going to be 1/4 inch. So if we take into account the 1/4 inch seam allowance on the edge here, then after that we need to have a nice comfortable area for the tab of our zip. You can see here that there's a tab at the end of the zip here, and that tucks in nicely inside the bag. So this area here, you will also decide how much of that you want showing on the top of your bag. I'm going to make mine 3/4 inch, just so that I can show you how to work it in the video. So by making the tab after the seam allowance 3/4 inch, I'll make a mark here. So I've got started with an 11 inch piece of fabric. I've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance, or 6 millimeters, and then I have tab allowance, and then my zip will be in between that area there. So that's when you determine how big your zip needs to be. So the area between end of the tab here and here is 9 inches. Now we need to be able to sew our tabs onto the zip, so we want to allow an extra 1/4 inch on either side for our zip to be stitched onto the fabric. So we've got 9 inches. I'll add 1/2 inch to that. That means I need to have at least 9.5 inches of zipper tape to be able to get my tabs on. If you're having a 1/4 inch seam allowance, 3/4 inch tab on each end, our zip will need to be 1.5 inches shorter than the entire width of your fabric. I've got 11 inches across here, so my zip needs to be 9.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 9.5 inches on my tape. So if you just line up your ruler along the edge of your zip, make a mark here, and then at 9.5 inches, this will be the area that we can cut out. And if we go back to the fabric, this will be the end of the tab here and just here, and if we place that over the top, this will be the cut edge of our zip. Okay, and then we're going to be sewing our tabs on a little bit further in from that. Likewise, this piece of fabric is 12.5 inches in width, and I want to have the same 1/4 inch seam allowance and the same 3/4 inch tab width at the top as well. Just makes it easier to work out the measurements later. If you try to stick to a standard for what works for you, it makes it easier and you don't have to remember any formulas later. So with a 12.5 inch piece of fabric, I need to have an 11 inch zip. This is the continuous one. But I'm not going to cut this to size just yet because I've got to put the slide on. So I'm going to show you how to put the slide on and keep it in the middle so that both ends are closed. This is the number 5, And you'll do the same technique for a number 3 or a 10, whatever size you prefer to use, but the smaller ones do get a little bit more fiddly. Open your tape. So we're just going to split this apart. Doesn't matter how much you do, you can do the entire tape if you want to. Take the curved edge of your slider and have that facing you. If these aren't even, it's no big deal because we will trim it. Place one side of the slide onto one side of the zipper tape, and I've just popped it there and not pushed it any further. I'll put my finger behind the slider just to hold it in place, but I'm not applying any pressure. Then I'll take this side and slide that in to the other side of the slider. And I'm just going to do that until it meets resistance. You can use a zipper jig if it makes it easier for you. It's just as easy to put your fingers on either side here. Grab the floppy bit of your slide and push that. So I've got my fingers down on either side of the zipper tape. I'm holding pressure there and push. Okay, so that was done in real time without being sped up. Now we have both ends of our zip closed and we can go and put our end tabs on there. We'll cut this down to the size that we wanted, which was 11 inches for the bigger bag. So for the larger bag, I've got 12.5 inches across here, an 11-inch zip with the ends chopped off. The other one here, that is the 11-inch wide bag, we're going to cut this one down. But with this one, we need to move the slide over to the usable area. So we'll open that out. We can't close up this end of the zip without taking the entire slide off. For the number 3s, I don't like to do that because they're difficult to get back on. So we'll leave it exactly as is. But what we're going to do to help us keep the zipper tape together is just run some adhesive tape on the inside here, and we're going to place that away from our stitching line. We'll take this off in a minute, and we're going to cut this on the line. These actually make really good side tabs for your bags. I might do that. For the other side of the zip, we can just cut the zip at the mark. We can take our 2 little tabs. This is the right side and the wrong side. So place the right side face together. Fold it in half. With the right sides facing, we're going to place our zip inside that. So just butt the end of the zip up right to the edge of your fabric. Pop a clip in, and we're going to sew about 1/4 inch from the end. All we want to do is catch that fabric and stop the teeth from coming apart. So once we've sewn that, that will open out and you'll have a nice neat tab on the end there. Raw edges don't matter because they'll be hidden away in the lining. On the other side, we'll do exactly the same. Fold your fabric together, place that over the end, and try and keep those teeth together as much as you can, and we will sew that as well. With the continuous zip, we're going to do exactly the same. Right sides facing, pop that over the end of the zip, and again. Now you'll take this to your machine and you're going to sew along this end here about 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more if you like, but definitely at least 1/4 inch. Rather than taking you with me, I'll quickly go and do those 4 ends right now. Okay, from here, all you do is take your tabs, push the fabric out, and that'll open it out and give you the correct side of your fabric showing on top. And with the regular zip, you can remove that tape. Fabric is folded out. When you have a look on this side, you've got the sharp edges of your zipper teeth wrapped up in fabric, and that's just opened out. So it's not going to cause the edge of your fabric to fray at all because it's wrapped up, and it gives a protective layer against your outside fabric. You can see now that the zip with the tape on the end is bigger than the width of the fabric. It's fine. I always allow a little bit extra. I can trim that off. It's better to have too much than too little. Now the procedure to insert your zip is exactly the same for any of the bags that you want to make using these types of tabs. I'll set the bigger one aside. We'll find the center of our zip, and we want to find the center from the edge of the tab to the other edge of the tab here. So you can see right there I've taken out a little nick from the center of the zipper tape, and that line there represents the center. We'll find the center of our fabric on both sides. And we'll mark the center of our lining as well. And I've just used the main fabric, positioned that over the top of my lining to mark the centers. Now the zip goes onto the outside of the fabric, and the lining will be applied as well. So have your pieces ready. This is your zip slider with the bumpy side of your zip facing up at the moment. We're going to turn that around and face that down. And so that you can see the lines, the center lines, I'll just mark that on the wrong side. We're going to turn the zip and face that down on top of the main fabric. So this line here matches that line there. If you're not very confident at putting in zips, then you can sew this side in from end to end before you put the lining on. It just creates extra work for yourself. So we've got the center lined up over the center here. Then you'll take the center of your lining, and this is the right side, so we want the right side facing the right side, and we'll line that center up with that line on the zip. You'll pin or clip all of those layers together so that they're nice and even right along the top edge there. Now, most of you know I like to use double-sided tape. It makes my job a lot easier and quicker, and that's what I'm going to do here. Double-sided tape, you want to be careful which one you use. It needs to be specific for fabric, then that way you won't have it gumming up your needle. Run the tape along the edge there. You can just use your fingernail to scrape the edge, and that will separate the tape from the adhesive. I've got the center line there, the bumpy side of my zip faced down, and I'll line that up from the center first. To the end. You want that tape from your zipper tab to go all the way out. Line up the rest of your zip along that edge. Then we'll take another piece of tape and place that over the top of the zip. This lining fabric will face down. I'll line up that center mark. And this tape is really good because you can reposition it as many times as you need to so that you can have everything nice and straight. This can now go to your machine, and you're going to sew from one end all the way down to the other end. So at this point here, you're securing the fabric and the zip all the way from one end to the next. It's not until we do the top stitching that we're actually going to shorten that. I'm going to place my lining faced down and have my outside fabric faced up. Normally I'll have whatever is stabilized or sturdy at the top. That will help prevent the top layer of fabric from shifting forward and extending beyond that lining. One of the reasons I like using the double-sided tape is because it prevents all of that shifting from happening. I can feel the edge of my zip right along here. I'm going to put the left side edge of my foot right next to the edge of the teeth that are underneath. You get to know your machine and your zipper foot as well. You'll learn how close you can get to the edge of your zip underneath. As I'm sewing, I'm also going to be looking at the side of my fabric, so I'm not steering along here, I'm steering along here, and I'm not sure that you can see the number 4 on my stitch plate here. The edge of my fabric is going to line up just with the point of the number 4 under there, so I usually look at that as my guide as to where I'm going to help me sew straight. We'll do a back stitch here, continue all the way to the end, I'm coming up to the bump where my zip slider is, so I'll need to move that out of the way. I'll raise my presser foot. Sometimes you have to wiggle your work to the side depending on how high your foot will go. So I'll move the slider to the back and continue sewing. When I get to the end, I'll backstitch, and that is the zip secured in place from end to end. Now we'll open the layers of fabric out. Push your lining away from the zip. You can finger press that along the edge there. That will help keep the layers away from the zipper tape when you're doing top stitching, and you'll do the same for the main fabric as well. Push those layers out. You can see I'm using my presser foot to hold my fabric in place. And what I will do when I start top stitching is I'll have my forefinger in between the layers of fabric, my middle finger behind and my thumb on top. That way I can, as I'm sewing, I can hold on to the tape and the layers of fabric here and help guide them away from the zipper teeth. That just helps that fabric sit flatter. You can see my zipper tab here and the zip along here. This is where we're going to start sewing with our back stitch. So we don't want to back stitch from here to the outside edge, and you don't want to do that at the other end either. So starting from here, we'll do a back stitch, then we'll sew all the way to the other end, and we're going to stop at the edge of that tab here, and we'll do a back stitch there as well. The top stitch that we're doing is about 1/8 of an inch. I'm using the edge of my foot as a guide, so I'll have that running up along the edge of my fabric here. I think that that's about 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters. It doesn't matter whether your zip is open or closed, but that'll depend on the type of foot that you have on your machine. So remember, we're not starting here. We're going to start here. My tab is here, the end of the zip is there, my needle is going down right beside that fabric. And you can see that my foot isn't over the edge of the fabric, so it's not going to be in the way of the zipper head, and that means I don't have to move this out of the way when I sew. I'm now at the end where the zip and the tab meet. My needle is down and I'll backstitch. And that's my top stitching finished. Now we can do the same to the other side. So top stitching is done. You can't tell on this one. So this one here, I've used a different coloured thread, and you should be able to see I've started sewing here and finished sewing along here. And this we will cut off after. Now we can do the other side of the bag. Take your other main piece. We'll run that tape along the edge again. And again, if you don't use double-sided tape, pins or clips will work just as well. Or you could even baste it. Line up the centre of the zip with the centre of the bag. So you've got your main fabric here, right sides facing, the side seams line up, and the top edge is lined up along here, and the zip is completely enclosed there. Turn that around, face your lining up, and we'll run some more tape along the top there, and we'll centre the lining over the top of the zip again. Each of these pieces line up evenly along the side. Likewise on the lining, the side edges also line up. And once you're confident that all of these layers are lined up neatly, you can go back to the machine and sew from one end to the other. Okay, we're doing exactly the same as we've done with the first side. We are going to sew from one end to the other with a back stitch at each end. When you get to your zip, you'll need to move the slide out of the way. Now, I do apologise for this bar being in your line of vision. I can remove it, but if I do that, I run the risk of stitching through my fingers. Not going to go there. It's a protective guard for your fingers. You may have noticed that the lining fabric is the one that's facing up, even though I said it should be down. I forgot to put it underneath. It doesn't matter in this instance because I've got double-sided tape keeping all the layers together. And I'll do the same again as before. Push the lining away from the zip, open out the main as well. And it really doesn't matter whether you sew from this side or this side. It's whatever's comfortable for you. If you've got a foot like this, it's equal distance on both sides, then it really won't matter what side you work on. Remember to line up the needle position right next to the end of the tab. Back stitch, and you're done. Okay, once again, here's our top stitching done from the tab to the tab on the other side of the bag. If you're sewing to sell and you use labels, you want to have put your labels on by this stage. So this is the front of my bag. My zip opens from left to right, and I've placed my label on the front there. When you put your label on, make sure your lining is separate from it. We want the stitching on the inside of the main fabric. When you have a look at the underside, you can also see the end of the tab is here. You can see that the tab on the end of the zip, you've got the right side facing out. There's no raw edges of your tab sticking out. Everything's completely protected. This section here is unstitched. We've started on the side and finished at the other end there. So that's the big bag. And you can also see that the tabs are a little bit longer. That's fine. And this one here, the tabs are quite a lot longer. Doesn't matter, again, it can be cut off now. And you can see here that the stitching has finished right on the end of the fabric where the tabs are. We can now cut off our side bits. Remember the end of the zip that we cut off earlier? If you've got enough of it left, you can trim this down. I'm going to trim it down to 2.5 inches. The middle bits are never left in the zip because we can accidentally sew over that. Needle's not going to penetrate that, it's just going to snap. So with my zipper tape that's left over, I'm going to place wrong side together so the teeth of the zip are sticking out. And we're not going to waste them, we're going to use them. We'll take the lining piece and separate that, so we only want to have an outer fabric piece facing us. And grab the tab, and you can position that on the side here, and the other one can go at the other side. I've often asked, why do people put tabs on their bags? Some people like to have something to hang on to when they're opening and closing their bags. So these tabs enable you to hold on to the side of the bag when you're pulling the zip open, especially when you've just got a small slide like this and you don't have anything hanging from it. Other people like to put a little wristlet strap or even attach a chain and carry it like a handbag. So tabs are always optional. I'll quickly stitch that in place. Now we're going to put the side seams together. It doesn't matter whether you work with your main or your lining first, but I tend to like to line up my main fabric first. You can see where the fabric here meets the tab, and on this side here. So you can see I've got the flap here of my seam and the flap here of my seam, both going in the same direction. Because we haven't top stitched this layer and this layer down, these two pieces of fabric can push out a little bit better. You can see a fold of the fabric is nicely lined up here. Clip that in place, and then I'll line up the rest of the bag. Before you even close up your sides, you want to make sure that this zip is open at least part of the way. If you don't open your zip, then when you turn your bag the right way around, you're going to have an awful time trying to get into it. So fortunately, I've remembered for a change. So you make sure that zip is open at least part of the way. So I've got the ends lined up. We've got this one here with the bulk of the seam going toward my main. Doesn't matter whether it's the main or the lining, as long as you have that fold in there beautifully lined up. At the moment it is. After I've done that, then I will line up the rest of the bag. It's not as critical to have this section lined up because it can always be trimmed. Okay, so now we're going to the machine. We're going to sew over the middle section here, back stitch and sew to the end. And if you're finishing your bag, you'll come around and go all the way around, sew over here, keep on going and finish at the other end. You would leave an opening at the bottom of your lining. I'm going to leave the bottom edges unsewn for this because this video is just about the zipper and the corners. So let's just go and sew down both side seams, and then I can turn the bag the right way around and we can have a look at how they finish. One thing I did forget to mention is that although we've got the main sections here lined up, this area at the top is the zipper tab. So the zipper tab, I usually have that facing away from the bulk of the fabric here. So that just helps reduce some of that extra bulk as well. So we've got the folds in the fabric along here. The tab gets pushed away toward the lining. So I'm going to line up my needle 1/4 of an inch in from the outside edge, and I'm going to line that up around about here, wherever my presser foot sits comfortably. And if I were using my domestic machine, I would use a hump jumper behind it to keep the foot nice and even. So I'll start sewing here with a back stitch, and then I'll continue toward the end. Normally I would turn and finish the bottom and then come up the side, but I am just going to show you the side seams closed at this stage. So what I can do now is flip the fabric the other way around. I'll come back to where I started and I can sew over that again. The fabric's not going to shift on me now. And I'll do the same at the other side. I don't usually put this much effort into my sides. This is so that you can see how it all works. Back again at the side, and I'll finish that. I've also triple stitched over the area where that little tab is on the side. Okay, let's see how this has worked out. So just turn that the right way around. Normally you would have the bottom section closed up. So far, the only thing that's been different with the type of zip that we've used, I've used a continuous zip on this bag, a regular zip on that one, and the finishing with the tabs and the construction of the bag is the same. So this one here, you can see the tabs here. are nice and even on both sides. If you have a look at the corners, I can probably poke it out a little bit more to have it nice and square, but you don't have those dinted corners or the rounded corners on there. It's just a nice square bag. So you can see the tab looks nice and even along the top there. Our corners on the side are nice and straight as well. And I have gone back to the machine and just curved the bottom edge. And this will just be a nice little pencil case or cosmetic pouch. And these are the little tabs on the side that were the offcuts from the zip. This one I've accidentally stitched that in place the wrong way, but I can live with that. That's a great way to use up excess zipper tape without throwing anything away. These are all made with fabric that was heading to landfill as well. So for those people that have been asking for a clearer explanation or a close-up on the zipper tabs, I hope this video has helped. I've not sped up the sections as much as I usually do so that you can see exactly what we do. And hopefully I've zoomed in enough with the camera that you can actually see everything that I've been doing on the tabs as well. I haven't yet figured out what these proddets are for. You have to prod something. Maybe it's a poker for me to get onto my next video. Not sure. I'm very curious. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video and the technique for doing the zip, and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.